Time Lapse. Time Lapse is a 2014 American independent science fiction thriller film directed by Bradley D. King in his feature debut. Starring Danielle Panabaker, Matt O'Leary, and George Finn, it follows three friends who discover a camera that takes photographs 24 hours into the future, leading to increasingly dangerous consequences. The film was shot primarily in a single apartment complex and emphasizes a contained, character-driven narrative. It premiered on April 18, 2014, at the Brussels International Fantastic Film Festival and later screened at various international genre festivals. Plot: the protagonists of Time Lapse find their ordinary young lives shaken by the discovery of a machine that can somehow take photos of their apartment within 24 hours, a discovery they exploit as a means of profit, but which proves to befall them. Finn is a painter experiencing an artistic life block. Meanwhile, he barely supports himself by being the building manager of the apartment complex where he lives with his girlfriend Callie and their gambling roommate Jasper. When the older tenant Bezarides falls behind on his rent, they investigate only to find his damp, abandoned apartment. There they find an entire wall of photos showing the three friends' apartment. Even stranger of all is a large mechanical device that they soon suspect takes snapshots a day before the actual events unfold. They also find a diary in which Mr. Bezarides worried he had foreseen his own death, and they discover his mummified corpse in a basement storage room. He broke the cardinal rule, don't mess with time, Jasper says. But he's also the first to consider the possibilities inherent in his deceased neighbor's invention. Not excluding the financial benefits of knowing the results of the next day's race, let's remember that he's a gambler. Despite some misgivings, the trio is quickly seduced by a greed in which each 24-hour period brings greater rewards for foreseeing the future, including Finn, who breaks through his creative block by knowing what he'll paint the following day. But presumably, they're also forced to make decisions that will lead to the sometimes bewildering images of their immediate futures. This generates increasingly complex logistical dilemmas and interpersonal conflicts. Meanwhile, Jasper's unsuspecting betting success attracts the interest of the terrifying bookie Ivan, who isn't shy about threatening their lives if they don't bend their strange windfalls to his will, that is, give him the money. The friendly security guard, Big Joe, also begins to suspect a lot of the strange activity. But when something can go wrong, it can go worse. Sweetheart Callie is dismayed that Finn isn't paying attention to her. So when she finds a photo of herself having sex with Jasper while Finn is sleeping next to her, she also finds a message asking herself to hide the 8 a.m. photos. While Finn sorts through the photos to see what he'll paint and Jasper figures out which horse he'll bet on, Callie texts herself to get Finn's attention. All three are completely absorbed by the power of the machine, but there's always one who begins to see things as they are, because he opens his eyes and sees what's really going on. Then he can see, for example, that Jasper, in addition to being a gambler and a drug addict, is now also a murderer, since he already has Ivan and Dr. Heidecker on his side, whom they murdered so as not to hand over the machine. How long before he turns on one of them? That's when Finn goes to the machine with a bucket of water, and when Jasper sees him, they threaten each other, Jasper with murdering him and Finn with dropping the water on the machine. They reach an agreement. Jasper is to allow Callie and Finn to leave in peace. Callie comes out and sees them strangely. Finn explains everything and asks Callie to leave, but Jasper will not let them, because Finn was going to take the money they had, and then Jasper attacks Finn and Callie Finnizes by killing Jasper. We are now at the climax of the story, and then it is time to see what each one's desire really is. The true Callie apparently only wants him to take her into account and dedicate time to her. And apparently she has achieved that. Finn proposes that they go away together to live their life as a couple. But that's when Callie decides not to leave that place and decides to kill Finn. Well, Finn discovers her infidelity, and she believes that by killing him and putting a message for herself in the window to prevent Finn from discovering the photo, everything will be fixed. And immediately after, Big Joe appears and discovers Callie putting the message, something quite terrifying, and then he discovers everything. But then the message falls and the machine takes the photo, but the message does not appear. Everything ends in tragedy for everyone, Jasper and Finn dead, while Callie will have to pay the consequences of her bad decisions. Comments. Time Lapse received generally positive reviews for its high-concept premise and performances. It has since attracted a cult following for its minimalist yet inventive take on time travel and psychological suspense. But let's assume that if she hadn't been discovered, everything would have worked out for her. Let's analyze this. She sends herself messages for the next day. Her life has moved on with Jasper and Finn dead. The Callie of yesterday could change her story, but the Callie of today would remain exactly the same, with Finn dead and with contempt toward herself for having been unfaithful to her friend. This means that Callie made a tender gesture for herself so that the Callie of yesterday would be happy, while she, the Callie of today, would be miserable. Most likely not. She did everything without analyzing her situation, because if she had been aware that, even if she sent a message for herself and thus prevented Finn from discovering her and in this way he wouldn't die and they would finally be happy, that wouldn't change her present. We can clearly see that the predestination paradox and the bootstrap paradox come into play here. We have an object and information from the future that affects the past. And that information is what facilitates the existence of that object and information. Let's look closely. Callie sends messages to herself to change her present with the intention that her past self change history. But if the events of that past didn't exist, then those messages would cease to exist, since they are causal, one produces the existence of the other. Therefore, that object, the photo, wouldn't travel to the past to prevent it. So there's a predestination, and it can't be changed. We finally conclude that Callie is beyond screw. Now she'll spend her life without Finn, without the time machine, and in prison. And if this worked out, the Callie of yesterday would be happy, while the Callie of today would still be miserable. I hope you enjoyed the movie. Let me know your comments. I'd be happy to answer any questions. See you next time. Next, I'd like to thank you for your attention. Bye.